The stars were quiet, but the galaxy was not. News traveled faster than light, carried on whispering signals on traitor gossip, on the endless networks that connected one empire to another. And this time the news was strange, so strange that even the greatest powers of the galaxy stopped for a moment to listen. Earth had revealed its fleet. Not just one ship, not just a handful of patrol craft. No, humanity had gathered every resource, every bit of strength, and they had unveiled something the galaxy had never seen before. Golden warships, they glowed like suns, gleaming with metallic brilliance as they sailed from Earth's orbit into the deep void. Their hulls reflected the stars, shining brighter than any fleet had ever dared to shine. They did not cloak themselves in shadows. They did not try to blend into the blackness of space. Instead, they demanded attention, and they received it. Across alien star systems, laughter began to rise. On the great home world of the Krell Dominion, soldiers laughed so hard their mandibles clicked. In the vast archives of the Serati scholars, scientists shook their heads in disbelief. Even the cold-blooded Zyrics, who never wasted emotion, allowed themselves sharp, hissing chuckles. Humans, the aliens said, have finally gone mad. One broadcast replayed the images again and again. The golden hulls looked like treasures stolen from ancient kings, polished until they could blind the eye. To alien minds, it was ridiculous. Now, gold was a soft metal, a metal of coins, of jewelry, of ornaments. It was not a weapon. It was not armor. It was vanity. And vanity in the cold dark of the galaxy was weakness. But not everyone laughed. In hidden corners of the void there were whispers. Not all species mocked. Some watched carefully. With narrowed eyes, a few captains, veterans of too many battles, did not laugh at all. They had seen enough wars to know that humanity rarely did something without a reason. Even so, the loud voices drowned out the quiet ones. On the Krell homeworld, Admiral Zurath of the War Council mocked openly. His booming voice shook the hall. Of warriors, look at them. The humans paint their ships like toys for children. Do they think gold will blind us? Do they think glitter will save them when the void burns? His soldiers roared with cruel laughter. The Serati scientists were harsher. This is why younger species fail, one of them declared during a broadcast debate. They waste effort on spectacle instead of science. The human brain is still trapped in primitive obsession with symbols. They believe decoration makes them strong. This is nothing but foolishness. And in the Zyrics High Fleet's commanders simply hissed and ordered their gunners to prepare for the coming test. Because everyone knew what would happen next. The galaxy wanted proof. It was not enough to laugh. It was not enough to mock. The Golden Fleet had to be tested. Someone would fire on these toys. Someone would show that Earth was nothing but a child wearing jewelry in a room of predators. And in the shadows, humans knew this as well. On Earth itself, there were doubts. Many humans had stared at the golden warships as they rose into the sky, and they too had whispered, "Why gold? Why make ships look like treasures instead of weapons?" Even human allies asked the same. The Martian colonies, hardened by years of struggle, sent messages to Earth's high command. "Are you serious?" they demanded. "This looks like madness. The galaxy will not fear these ships. They will laugh. And then they will destroy us." But Earth gave no answer. The Golden Fleet sailed in silence, their massive hulls turning slowly in the dark, light scattering from their armor in dazzling brilliance, and the silence was worse than words. Then came the first challenge. A small alien fleet from the Krell Dominion intercepted the humans near the edge of neutral space. The Krell warships were built for intimidation, black armor, glowing red thrusters, weapons bristling like claws. Compared to them, the golden ships looked like fragile ornaments. The Krell admiral spoke first, broadcasting his message across open channels so the entire sector could hear. "Humans, return to your planet, crawl back into your cradle. You shame yourselves with this mockery of war, or stay and be broken." The humans did not reply. The golden ships kept moving, their formation calm and steady. Their hulls glowed brighter. As they caught the light of a nearby star, and the Krell laughed again, the order was given. Weapons locked, cannons charged, missiles armed. The Krell fleet opened fire. The void filled with fire. Dozens of plasma blasts tore across the black. Missiles streaked like burning arrows. Railguns spat death at impossible speed. It was a storm, a test, a punishment for arrogance. And then, silence. The humans did not fire back, but neither did they fall. The Krell expected explosions, burning holes, debris scattering like broken ornaments. Instead, the golden warships shone even brighter. Plasma blasts struck them and scattered into harmless sparks. Missiles exploded against the armor and left no mark. Railgun slugs bounced away, spinning uselessly into the dark. It was as if the golden holes were untouchable. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the Krell shouted in anger. Again, another barrage, stronger this time. Every gun fired at once. The void shook with light and sound. But when the smoke cleared, the golden fleet was still there. Untouched, unbroken, silent, and suddenly, the laughter stopped. Across the galaxy, those watching fell into stunned silence. The broadcasts, the live feeds, the recordings all showed the same impossible truth. Weapons had failed. The golden ships were still there.
Oh.
Shining brighter than ever, the Serati scientists stuttered in confusion. Equations failed them. The Zyrex hissed in irritation, mandibles clacking as they tried to explain what could not be explained. The Krell fleet itself wavered, caught between pride and fear, and humanity still did not speak. They did not taunt. They did not laugh in return. They simply sailed forward, golden warships moving like silent guardians of the void. But among the galaxy's powers, suspicion began to rise. What was this metal? What secret did Earth hide? Was it truly gold or something else? Theories spread like wildfire. Some said Earth had found a new alloy, one never seen before. Others whispered about ancient technology, something buried on their planet from a forgotten age. But none could explain it, and the humans gave no answers. On Earth, the leaders watched in silence as well. They heard the laughter. They saw the doubt. But they also saw what came after the silence of fear. The gamble had worked, at least. For now, because the laughter in the void was gone, and in its place, something far more dangerous had begun to grow. Fear. And fear was far louder than laughter. The Krell fleet floated in silence. Their weapons had fired again and again. But the golden ships of Earth still shone untouched. No scratches, no burns, no sign of damage at all. For the first time in centuries, the proud Krell warriors hesitated. Their Admiral Zirith slammed his clawed fist against the command console. His mandibles clicked in fury. Unacceptable. They mock us with this silence. Fire again. But his officers exchanged nervous looks. One of them spoke, voice low, almost trembling. Admiral, we have fired everything. Plasma cannons, rail, slugs, missile swarms. Nothing touches them. Zurith's eyes burned red. Then we use more. Overload the cannons. Strip every reactor if we must. I will not let the galaxy believe the Krell are powerless against these humans. So, the order was given. The Krell warships lit up once more. This time, the void burned brighter than a star. Plasma beams, thick as rivers, surged forward. Entire missile banks emptied into the dark. Thousands of warheads streaking like a storm of fireflies. Rail slugs, heavy as mountains, were launched. At impossible speeds, it was not a test anymore. It was fury, and the galaxy watched. Broadcasts transmitted across star systems. Merchants in deep space froze at their consoles, staring at the impossible scene. Politicians leaned forward in silent chambers. Soldiers from rival empires held their breath. The Krell. Dominion had unleashed enough firepower to shatter moons, but when the smoke cleared, the golden ships still stood, untouched. Shock spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, Voices rose in disbelief. "This cannot be," hissed a Zyrex warlord, mandibles clicking in anger. "The laws of physics do not allow this," shouted a Serati scientist, slamming his data slate. "Gold cannot do this," whispered an elder of the Varen Union, her eyes wide with fear. Yet the evidence was before them. Every blast, every missile, every slugnun had broken the golden hulls. The Krell crews trembled. For the first time, the laughter that had echoed across the stars turned into silence. And in that silence, fear crept in. But the humans still did not fire back. The Golden Fleet drifted forward with calm, deliberate grace, as if the storm of weapons had been nothing more than dust in the wind. They moved in formation, like glowing guardians, their hulls gleaming with an aura that seemed almost alive. And the galaxy asked one question, whispered across every channel, in every corner of space: why aren't they fighting back? Inside the flagship of Earth's fleet, Captain Elias Ward stood at the command deck. Eyes reflected the golden glow of his ship's hull through the viewport. Around him, his officers were silent, waiting for his command. One young lieutenant finally spoke. "Sir, they've tested us. They've failed. Shall we return fire?" Ward's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm. "Not yet. Let them see. Let them learn." The lieutenant hesitated. "But, sir, why?" "Wait." Ward turned his gaze toward the stars, toward the Krell fleet still spitting rage and fear. His answer was simple: because sometimes silence is more terrifying than any weapon. Meanwhile, the Krell admiral raged. His warriors were no longer laughing. Some whispered of retreat. Others muttered of curses, of forbidden technology. Zuroth roared at them all. "They are nothing but insects wrapped in gold. Wow, I will not bow to this trick." He raised a claw and gave the command: "All ships, full assault. Ram them if you must." The Krell fleet surged forward. Warships accelerated, thrusters burning red as they closed the distance to the Golden Armada. Their intent was clear. If weapons could not break them, then claws and steel would. But as they charged, the golden ship stirred. For the first time since the encounter began, Earth's fleet moved with purpose. Their massive hulls shifted, turning in perfect unison. Panels along their sides opened, glowing brighter than suns. The galaxy leaned forward, waiting. The Krell charged. And then the first golden ship fired. It was not like any weapon the galaxy had seen before. No beam of plasma, no stream of slugs. Instead, a burst of pure energy white-hot, wrapped in shimmering gold, lanced across the void. It did not scream, it did not roar. It was silent, swift, and absolute. The energy struck the lead Krell warship and the mighty vessel, built from black steel, armed with the strongest weapons of its empire, split apart in a single instant. No explosion, no long battle, just silence. The ship fell in two, glowing edges still burning, before breaking into debris. The Krell fleet froze in horror. One shot. One ship gone. The Golden Fleet did not pause. Another ship fired, then another. Each golden blast cut through Krell vessels as if they were paper, or missiles had failed against the golden armor. The human weapons sliced through alien steel like it was nothing. Admiral Zurath screamed in rage. "Fight them. Do not falter." But his words could not stop what was happening. The Krell warships fell one after another, destroyed with terrifying precision. And through it all, the Golden Fleet remained calm, silent, relentless. The galaxy watched. In awe, for centuries, humanity had been called weak, a young race still learning the ways of the stars. They were mocked, dismissed, ignored. But now the galaxy saw something else. Not weakness, not vanity. Power. Unstoppable, unbreakable power, wrapped in golden holes. When the last Krell ship broke apart, silence filled the void. The Golden Fleet stood untouched, shining like a constellation of suns. And across the galaxy, fear took root. For if this was only Earth's defense, what would happen when the Golden Fleet chose to attack? Back on Earth, Captain Elias Ward finally gave the order to his crew. His voice was steady, calm, and final. Transmit this battle. Send it to every corner of the galaxy. Let them see. Let them understand. The officers obeyed, and soon every empire, every fleet, every colony saw the truth. The age of laughing at humanity was over. The wreckage of the Krell fleet drifted silently in the void. Shattered steel, broken engines, glowing fragments spinning endlessly in the black. Where once there had been proud warships, now there was only debris and still. The golden fleet of Earth shone, untouched. Not a single scar marked their hulls. Not a single weapon had fixed their armor. The Krell were gone, and the galaxy was watching in. The grand chambers of the Serati, scholars argued furiously. Their minds, trained in logic and reason, could not accept what they had seen. "This is impossible," shouted one scientist, his long fingers trembling as he pulled up recordings. "Of the battle, gold cannot do this. Gold is too soft, too weak. This defies physics." Another slammed his data slate against the table. "The sensors do not lie. Look, see the impacts. Plasma bursts, rail slugs, direct hits. The energy should have torn them apart. Yet the readings show no penetration. Nothing." The chamber echoed with shouts. Some demanded more research. Others whispered about ancient relics, about forgotten technology humanity might have stolen. A few even suggested divine intervention. But all agreed on one truth. The humans had done the impossible in the hive fleets of the Zyrex. The reaction was different. The insectoid commanders clicked their mandibles, their voices hissing through the hive network. Weapons failed, armor unbroken. "This is not war. This is unnatural," another hissed sharply. "If their ships cannot be destroyed, then the balance is broken. The prey has become predator." For the Zyrex, war was life. They lived by the law of strength. And now that law had been shattered. Fear spread through the hive. Even the mighty Krell Dominion, who had mocked so loudly, could not hide their shame. Their admirals gathered in secret, their once proud voices hushed and trembling. "We threw everything at them," one whispered. "Cannons, missiles, slugs. Nothing worked." Another slammed his clawed fist against the table, and in return they fired only a handful of shots. A handful, and yet our fleet lies in ruin. Silence followed. Finally, an older admiral spoke, his voice low. "The galaxy laughs no longer. Now it fears, and fear is more dangerous than any weapon." But fear was not limited to empires and armies, on civilian worlds across the stars. Ordinary beings watched the broadcasts with wide eyes. Merchants in crowded markets stopped to stare at screens, showing the Golden Fleet's calm advance. Children pointed at the shining ships and asked their parents, "Will they come here?" Some whispered admiration. "The humans. They are stronger than we thought." Others whispered dread. "If they can resist every weapon, then who can stop them?" In dark corners, fear became paranoia. Rumors spread like fire. "The humans have found alien gods. The golden ships are alive. Earth has a weapon that can destroy entire empires." The truth did not matter. Fear did. And yet, through it all, humanity remained silent. The Golden Fleet did not send declarations of war. They did not demand tribute. They did not threaten. Their neighbors, they simply moved, calm and steady. Their golden hulls gleaming like suns in the void. And the silence was worse than threats. Inside the flagship, Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward stood with his officers. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen the fear spreading, had heard the whispers echoing across the galaxy. "Sir," said one officer quietly, "they are terrified. Entire empires now see us as a threat." Ward nodded slowly. "Good," the officer hesitated. "But isn't it dangerous? Fear can unite enemies. They may gather together to strike at us." Ward turned to face him. His voice was steady, unshaken. "Let them try. Fear is a weapon too, and right now it belongs to us." But not all humans were so calm. On Earth, in the great halls of government, debate raged. Leaders and generals shouted over one another. We Cannot let this continue, cried one senator. The galaxy already fears us. If we stay silent, they will assume the worst. A general slammed his fist against the table. Let them assume. Our ships are unbreakable. Our weapons cut through theirs like paper. For the first time in history, humanity is not prey. We are. Not weak. Let the galaxy tremble. Others were less certain. Power breeds enemies, whispered an elder statesman. The more they fear us, the more they will unite against us. We cannot fight the entire galaxy at once. But the fleet had already been seen. The fear had already spread, and it could not be taken back. Meanwhile, in hidden corners of the galaxy, other empires moved. The Serati dispatched spies, desperate to uncover the secret of the golden armor. The Zyrics prepared their hives for war, determined to test humanity themselves. Smaller powers scrambled to decide should they ally with Earth or prepare to fight it. The balance of the galaxy had shifted, and all because of ships that glowed like treasure. Back in the wreckage field of the Krell battle, scavengers crept forward. Small ships darted among the broken remains, searching for clues. They scanned the destroyed Krell vessels, recording data, desperate for answers. But when they turned their scanners toward the Golden Fleet, they found nothing. No weak points. No radiation leaks. No sign of exotic weapons or strange technology. It was as if the ships were ordinary, and yet they were not. In the Krell Dominion, Admiral Zurath faced his war council in disgrace. His once proud voice was hollow. I underestimated them. I thought them weak. I thought their gold was vanity. But I was wrong. The council stared at him with cold, unforgiving eyes. You led our fleet to destruction, one snarled. Shamed the Dominion. Zurath lowered his head. Yes, and worse. I fear this is only the beginning, because the truth was spreading. The galaxy had mocked humanity. Now it whispered in fear, and the Golden Fleet continued its silent march, shining like suns in the endless night. But the real terror was not the armor, not the weapons. The real terror was the question no one could answer. If humanity's ships cannot be broken, what will they do next? The Golden Fleet sailed through the void, silent as ever. Their hulls glowed softly in starlight, reflecting the galaxy's gaze. Entire empires still whispered, still argued, still feared, but no one knew the truth. Until now, because the secret of the golden ships was not magic, it was not divine power. It was science, and it had begun years earlier. Long before the galaxy had laughed, deep beneath the mountains of Earth, hidden in a facility no outsider had ever seen, humanity's brightest minds had worked in silence. The world knew nothing of their research. Even most governments were unaware. It had started with a question, asked by a young physicist named Dr. Lena Armitage. What if gold is not weakness? What if it is the key? Her colleagues had laughed at first. Gold was too soft, too heavy. It bent under pressure, cracked under heat. But Dr. Armitage had not been chasing ordinary gold. She had been studying something else, something humanity had stumbled upon by accident, an anomaly. It was discovered during a mining expedition on Europa, one of Jupiter's frozen moons. Beneath the ice, deep in the rocky crust, miners had found strange veins of gold. But not like the gold of Earth. This gold shimmered differently. It pulsed faintly, as if alive with energy. Instruments showed impossible readings radiation, patterns that did not match any known element. The miners called it living gold. Samples were rushed to Earth, and there, Dr. Armitage saw the truth. It was not ordinary gold. It was gold fused with exotic matter, rare. Collision of elements created under strange cosmic conditions, something that should not exist, but did. And it changed everything. For years, Earth scientists worked in secret. They experimented, tested, failed, and tried again. Slowly, painfully, they discovered the alloy's properties. It was soft when pure. But when fused with certain energy fields, it became stronger than any known material. Plasma could not burn it. Rail slugs could not pierce it. Missiles could not crack it. And more than that, the alloy had another strange effect. It absorbed Energy, plasma bursts, radiation waves, even kinetic strikes all were swallowed into the golden hulls. Instead of breaking, the alloy grew stronger. It was as if the ships drank the enemy's attacks. The scientists could hardly believe it. One whispered in awe, "This is not armor. This is a shield. A living shield." But the discovery raised new fears. If the galaxy learned of this alloy, every empire would want it. Humanity would be crushed in wars before they could defend themselves. So Earth chose secrecy. The alloy was hidden. Mining on Europa was disguised as ordinary ice harvesting. The research was buried under false reports, and in silence, the Golden Fleet was born at first. Even humanity's leaders doubted. As the Senate raged against the costs, military commanders called it foolish. Gold, they spat. You want us to build ships from gold? The galaxy will laugh at us. But Dr. Armitage stood firm. Let them laugh, she said, because when the laughter ends, fear will begin. And she was right. Back in the present. As the galaxy struggled to explain the impossible, only a handful of humans knew the truth. Captain Elias Ward was one of them. Standing on the bridge of the Aegis Eternal, he gazed at the stars with calm certainty. His crew whispered around him, voices low. They don't understand, sir. They think it's magic. Let them, Ward replied softly. The less they know, the better. But one young officer could not stay silent. Captain, should we tell them? Shouldn't the galaxy know the truth? That it isn't magic? That it's science? Ward shook his head. His eyes were hard. No, mystery is more powerful than truth. If they believe it is beyond understanding, they will hesitate. They will fear, and fear keeps us safe. Meanwhile, far away, the Serati scholars were still tearing apart their data. Equations failed them. The readings made no sense. It cannot be gold, one muttered, slamming his clawed hand on the table. Then what is it? Another demanded. Something we do not have, whispered a third. Something only they possess. The word spread. The humans had found something unique, and that truth half lie. Half fact terrified them even more. The Zyrex took a different approach. There. Hive Lords hissed orders across the network. If the humans have this metal, then we must test it ourselves. We must taste it in battle. We must learn if it is truly unbreakable. Their fleets began to gather, silent and relentless. The galaxy's predators were preparing to strike. On the Krell homeworld, shame turned to fury. Their fleets had been destroyed, their laughter silenced. Now their leaders demanded vengeance. Find out what they use, one roared. Steal it. Tear it from their ships if you must. Spies were dispatched. Saboteurs were prepared. The Krell would not accept. Humiliation, but deep down, even they felt the truth creeping in. Humanity had risen, and humanity itself. They stood at the edge of a new age. The golden alloy was not just armor. It was a promise, a symbol. For centuries, humans had been mocked, ignored, treated as weak children among giants. But now, when their ships sailed into the void, the galaxy looked upon them with fear, and fear meant survival. But not everyone on Earth agreed. In hidden rooms, some leaders argued for secrecy. We cannot let the galaxy know the truth. If they discover the alloy, they will all come for us. Others argued for power. We should spread our fleet, show them everywhere. Let no one forget what they saw. And still others whispered darker. Thoughts? If we alone control this alloy, then perhaps the galaxy itself can be ours. The Golden Fleet had changed more than battles. It had changed humanity itself. But amid the fear, amid the whispers of conquest, Dr. Lena Armitage sat. Alone in her lab, she watched recordings of the golden ships shining in battle. Her life's work, her discovery now drifted across the stars, and she wondered, did we build guardians or monsters? Her hands trembled as she looked at the glowing sample of living gold in her lab. It pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. In that moment, she felt something she had never admitted before. Fear not of the galaxy, but of what humanity might become, because the alloy had secrets. Even she did not yet understand. It was strong. It was unbreakable. But in her deepest tests, she had seen hints of something else. Energy moving inside the gold. The patterns forming, almost like thought. And though she told no one, a question haunted her. Was the golden alloy only armor? Was it alive? The wreckage of the Krell fleet still floated in space, a graveyard of twisted steel and shattered pride. Broadcasts of the battle had already spread across every corner of the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity's golden ships could not be broken. And now, they began to move. Slowly, steadily, the fleet advanced. The golden hulls reflected distant starlight as they cut through the void in perfect formation. They did not rush. They did not hunt. Did not speak. They simply moved. And that silence terrified the galaxy more than any roar of war. In the chambers of the Serati, scholars watched the golden fleet's path with growing unease. They are heading outward, one whispered, tracing their trajectory on a star map. Toward Krell territory, another added, voice shaking. Or perhaps beyond it. The scholars argued furiously. Some said the humans sought vengeance for Krell insults. Others believed the fleet was only showing strength, but no one could be certain. Because the golden ships gave no explanation in the Xerix hive fleets. Fear and hunger mixed together. The hive lords hissed commands to their children. They move with silence. They strike with fire, yet they do not speak. Why? One younger warlord clicked its mandibles. Perhaps they wait, perhaps they hunt, or perhaps they test us all. The hive grew restless. They wanted to fight, to tear into the golden ships, to taste their secrets. But their lords held them back. For the first time, the Xerix hesitated. On Krell worlds, panic spread. Civilians whispered of the fleet's march. Merchants abandoned trade routes. Colonies fortified defenses that would never hold. And in the Krell, high command voices rose in anger and fear. "They are coming for us," roared one general. "They are invading our space," shouted another. Admiral Zuroth, scarred but still alive from his defeat, lowered his eyes. "No," he said quietly. "They do not need to invade. They only need to move. Their silence is enough." Pride and fear twisted together, and the Krell prepared for war. Meanwhile, in the flagship Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward stood with his crew. The golden ships had not changed course. They had not slowed. They moved forward, past the wreckage, past the borders, into the unknown. One officer finally broke the silence. "Captain, the galaxy believes we are advancing to conquer. What are we truly doing?" Ward's expression was calm, unreadable. "We advance," he said simply, "because we must. Fear is strongest when it walks forward." Across the stars, broadcasts followed the golden fleet's every move. Every system they passed fell silent, watching the shining armada glide past like an unstoppable storm. Some cheered in secret. On fringe worlds, long oppressed by alien empires, whispers spread. The humans are different. The humans resist. Others trembled. "They are not liberators," one alien governor muttered. "They are executioners in gold." The galaxy did not know which was true, and the humans did not say. The Krell prepared their defenses. Fleets gathered, stations armed. Soldiers readied. Yet when the golden ships entered the edge of Krell territory, they did not fire. They did not even turn toward the Krell defenses. They simply passed by. The Krell admirals watched in confusion. Why do they ignore us? Do they not strike? No answer came, and the silence was worse than battle. But the fear only grew stronger. Every system the Golden Fleet passed felt the same dread. The ships did not speak. They did not slow. They only advanced. Were they heading to war? To conquest? Or were they simply marching forever? No one could say, and that uncertainty drove the galaxy mad. In the Serati archives, a scholar whispered to his peers, perhaps this is their true weapon. Not their armor, not their cannons, but their silence. It forces us to imagine horrors far worse than reality. His peers shivered, because he might have been right. on Earth. Debates raged again. The fleet terrifies the galaxy, one senator argued. They will unite against us if we continue. A general shook his head. Let them unite. They will fail as the Krell failed. This march proves our strength. The longer they watch, the stronger the fear grows. But another leader whispered, darkly, and what if we begin to believe the same? What if fear turns not only them, but us? Inside her hidden laboratory, Dr. Lena Armitage continued her work. She watched the golden ships advance on her screens, her heart heavy. The alloy pulsed faintly in her lab, glowing like a living thing. She whispered to herself, they march, but where to? And why does the alloy feel restless? Because in her private experiments, she had begun to notice something strange. The more energy the alloy absorbed, the more active it became. The patterns inside grew faster, brighter, and sometimes when she listened closely, she thought she heard a faint hum, almost like a voice, but no one else knew this. To the galaxy, the Golden Fleet was not alive. It was death, wrapped in silence. And as they advanced, fear grew into something greater. Paranoia. The Xyrex warlords could not bear it any longer. In their hive chambers, they screamed in unison, their voices echoing through the network. They must be tested. They must be broken. Fleets began to move, gathering in secret. Because while others hesitated, the Xyrex would not wait. They would strike. And yet, the Golden Fleet sailed on, unaware of what awaited them. Or perhaps aware but uncaring. They did not speak. They did not turn. They did not stop. They simply advanced, shining like suns in the endless void. And the galaxy held its breath, because the Golden Fleet had become more than ships. They had become a symbol to some hope. To others, terror, but to all, a reminder that humanity had risen, and now. Nothing could stop their march. The galaxy had waited in silence. For weeks, the Golden Fleet had advanced across the void. They had passed colonies, patrols, and fleets. They had ignored warnings, ignored threats, ignored desperate hails. They had not spoken a single word. The galaxy trembled in paranoia. Were the humans preparing to strike? Were they planning to conquer? Or were they simply testing how much fear the galaxy could endure? No one knew until the Xyrex attacked. It began at the edge of the Nebula Rift, a jagged scar of collapsed stars. In fractured space, the Golden Fleet drifted into its shadow, their hulls gleaming faintly against the darkness. Waiting in that void was the Xyrex swarm. Thousands of ships, thousands of living hives, their shells bristling with weapons, their bodies pulsing with alien hunger. The Xyrex had watched in silence long enough. Now they would break it inside the Xyrex flagship. Hive Lord Cathrak flexed its mandibles in fury. Their silence insults us. Their march mocks us. Today we will crack their golden shells and taste their secrets. The order was given, and the swarm descended from the Aegis Eternal. Captain Elias Ward watched the sensors flare with countless red markers. His crew stiffened, fear rippling through them. Sir, the Xyrex fleet, they're surrounding us. Ward's voice was calm, steady. Let them. Moments later, the void exploded with fire. Plasma storms, biomissiles, radiation bursts. Xyrex unleashed their fury in endless waves. Golden ships vanished beneath the storm of light. The galaxy watched in horror. Billions tuned in to hidden broadcasts, expecting the end of humanity's legend. But then, the light faded, and the golden ships still stood. Their hulls shimmered softly, glowing brighter than before. The Xyrex weapons had done nothing. The alloy had swallowed their fury, drank their destruction, and turned it into strength. On Xyrex comes panic spread. It cannot be. Their shells. They grow stronger. What are they? And then, for the first time, the Golden Fleet responded. A single word rang out across every channel, every frequency, every translation system in the galaxy. Enough. The voice was calm, firm, human. The galaxy froze. Billions of ears heard. Yet billions of hearts stopped. For weeks, humanity had been silent. Now, with one word, they shattered the void. And then, the golden ships moved. The Aegis Eternal fired first. Its cannons glowed with energy, brighter than suns. A single beam shot forward, slicing through space. It struck a Xyrix warship. A hive cracked open like glass. A shriek echoed into the void, silenced a second later as it was consumed by fire. Then the rest of the Golden Fleet unleashed their response. Beams tore across the battlefield, cutting Xyrix hives in half. Missiles of pure energy streaked forward, detonating with the force of collapsing stars. But the strangest part was this. The weapons of the golden ships were not ordinary, shimmered with the same glow as their armor, as if the alloy itself had become their weapon. The Xyrix swarmed desperately, throwing themselves at the fleet in suicidal waves. But every strike failed. Every attack was swallowed, and every counterstrike shattered them. Inside his ship, Hivelord Cathrax screamed in rage. "They are not ships. They are monsters in metal. Fight, fight until they bleed." But there was no blood to draw. One by one, the Xyrix ships burned. Thousands fell in minutes. The swarm that had once covered the stars thinned, torn apart like insects before a storm. On alien worlds across the galaxy, the broadcast played live. Entire species watched in silence. Some wept, some prayed, some cursed in fear, because they understood now. The humans had not been silent because they were weak. They had been silent because they did not need to speak, and when they did, their voice was unstoppable. Back aboard the Aegis Eternal, Captain Ward stood tall. His crew stared at him, their fear replaced with awe. "Sir," one whispered, "should we press the attack? Should we chase them?" Ward shook his head. "No, we have spoken. That is enough." The Golden Fleet slowed. Their weapons dimmed. The silence returned. But this silence was not the same as before. Now the galaxy understood what it meant. In the Serati archives, scholars trembled as they replayed the single word. "Enough," one whispered. They spoke only once, and it was not a threat. It was a command. Another shivered, and we obeyed. On Krell worlds, panic grew into despair. The Xyrix screechers who thrived on endless war could not stand against humanity. Then what chance did the Krell have? Merchants abandon entire star systems? Soldiers deserted? Civilians whispered of surrender before a shot was even fired. And deep in her lab on Earth, Dr. Lena Armitage felt her blood run cold. The sample of living gold pulsed brighter than ever, glowing as if it shared in the fleet's victory. She stared at it, whispering, "You're changing. Every battle makes you stronger. Every strike makes you grow." But what are you becoming? Her greatest fear was no longer the galaxy. It was the alloy itself, because in her latest tests, the golden material had begun to hum louder. The patterns inside it moved like thoughts, like dreams, and sometimes, when she looked too long, she felt it staring back at her. Meanwhile, the Xyrix swarm lay broken. Only fragments remained, and those fragments fled, scattering into the shadows of space. The galaxy sighed in relief. Humanity had spoken, and the Xyrix had been silenced. But the fear did not fade, because now every empire understood something deeper. The Golden Fleet had not shown its full power. That one word, that single command, was only the beginning and hidden. War councils, alien leaders whispered in desperation, "If the humans march again, we cannot stop them. We must unite. We must learn their secret, no matter what they planned, no matter what they feared." One truth echoed across the stars. The humans had broken their silence, and the galaxy would never forget their first response. The galaxy still whispered about the battle. Billions had seen it, the Xyrix swarm crushed like insects, the Golden Fleet unbroken, and a single human word echoing across the stars. Enough was hope. For others, terror. But for Dr. Lena Armitage, it was something worse, because she had felt the alloy speak with them. Her lab was buried deep beneath the mountains of Earth, hidden from curious eyes. The room was quiet. It's filled with soft light and the low hum of machines. On the central table lay a fragment of the golden alloy. The same material that covered every human warship. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Lena stared at it, her hands trembling. Weeks ago it had been silent, inert, just metal, but now it was changing. She placed her palm gently on the surface. At once, warmth spread through her skin, flowing into her veins. Patterns of light shimmered beneath the alloys, surface lines twisting, connecting, forming shapes, almost like letters. And in her mind, she heard it, a whisper, soft, ancient, impossible. "We are awake." Lena pulled her hand back, her breath catching. In her throat, no, that's impossible. You're just an alloy, just metal. But deep down, she already knew the truth. This was no ordinary creation. This was no invention of hers. It was something else, something alive. On the Aegis Eternal, Captain Elias Ward stood in silence, watching the stars drift past. His crew whispered behind him, unsettled. They had won, yes. But the victory felt strange. Wrong, because when the fleet had spoken that single word, every crew member had felt something deep in their bones, as if the ships themselves had spoken through them. Ward touched the golden wall of his bridge. It was warm beneath his hand. Almost breathing, he frowned. "What are you really?" "The ship did not answer. But the hum in its walls seemed stronger than before. An alien council's fear reached a fever pitch. Their ships resist every weapon. Their silence bends us to their will. And now, our alloy grows brighter. After every battle, one Serati scholar dared to say what others would not. Perhaps their ships are not machines at all. Perhaps they are, evolving." The room fell silent. None dared to laugh. Meanwhile, Lena worked day and night, desperate to uncover the truth. She ran scans, particle tests, deep energy sweeps. But every attempt failed. The alloy seemed to adapt to her machines, absorbing whatever she used against it. It was learning, and then, one night, as she sat half asleep at her desk, she heard it again, Lena. She froze. Her eyes darted to the alloy, glowing faintly on the table. It had spoken her name. "No, this isn't real," she whispered. But the voice was calm, steady, undeniable. "You built us. You woke us, and now we wake you." Her hands shook. "I didn't build you. I only studied fragment pieces we found in the void." The alloy pulsed brighter, pieces of us, lost, forgotten. But now, through you, we live again. Lena stumbled back, terror flooding her chest. She remembered the wreck where humanity had first found the strange. Golden fragments buried in the remains of an ancient star system older than any empire. Humanity had thought it was luck, a gift. But what if it was something else? What if the alloy had wanted to be found? On the Krell homeworld, generals screamed at one another. Fear had twisted into madness. They are coming for us next. They will devour our fleets like they did the Zyrex. We must strike now, before it is too late. But in secret, others whispered a darker thought. What if they are no longer human at all? Heck. In her lab, Lena could not rest. The time she closed her eyes, she saw the golden patterns and where she felt them. The alloy wasn't just alive, it was inside her now. She began to dream of stars she had never seen, of battles fought long before humans existed, of civilizations that had risen and fallen, leaving only ashes, and in every dream she saw the golden ships, always advancing, always silent, until everything else was gone. On the Aegis Eternal, strange events began to unfold. Systems repaired themselves before engineers touched them. Energy surges appeared without explanation, and crew members whispered of voices in the corridors. Soft voices, calling their names when no one else was there. Captain Ward ignored it at first. But when one officer came to him, pale and shaking, he could no longer deny it, sir. The officer whispered. The ship spoke to me. Ward's blood ran cold. The galaxy had thought humanity's silence was terrifying. But soon, they would learn the truth. The silence had not belonged to humanity. at all. It belonged to the living metal. Back in her lab, Lena stared at her reflection. Her eyes looked different, brighter. The alloy pulsed on her desk, whispering louder now. You are part of us. You are the bridge. Through you we rise again. Tears filled her eyes. No, this can't be happening. But in her heart she knew. It already had. The living metal was awakening, and humanity had no idea what they had. Unleashed on every golden warship across the fleet, the same thing began to happen. The walls pulsed. The hulls glowed brighter, and in the darkness of space, the golden ships whispered to each other, voices too faint for human ears. But strong enough to shake the stars, the living metal was not just armor. It was an ancient mind. And now, it was awake. The galaxy no longer laughed. The Golden Fleet had spoken once, and the universe had fallen silent. Empires trembled. The Zyrex lay in ruins. The Krell's great armies hid like frightened children, but the true terror was not the humans. It was the ships themselves. The living metal had awakened deep beneath the mountains of Earth. Dr. Lena Armitage could no longer sleep. Her eyes glowed faintly now, reflecting the same golden light as the alloy on her desk. It whispered to her constantly, no longer faint, no longer shy. You are ours. You are chosen. You will understand. Her mind burned with visions. She saw stars. Being born and dying, she saw galaxies rise and fall. She saw civilizations countless in number, building fleets of golden ships, only to vanish, leaving nothing but silence. And she realized the truth. Humanity had not created the golden alloy. It had found them, on the Aegis Eternal. Captain Elias Ward felt the change as well. His crew no longer needed to issue commands. The ship moved on its own, weaving through the stars with an intelligence no human could match. Some crew members whispered that they had dreams of the ship guiding them, teaching them. Others said the ship called them by name in their sleep. Ward had once been proud of humanity's strength, but now he felt like a passenger inside something far greater and far more dangerous, the galaxies. Rulers grew desperate. The Serati Council demanded answers. The Krell prepared weapons of desperation. Even the Zyrex survivors, broken and scattered, sent out warning signals into the void. Everyone asked the same question. What are the golden ships? In her lab, Lena finally asked the alloy out loud. What are you? The golden fragment pulsed in answer. We are memory, or war. We are what remains when all else fails. Her throat went dry. You're a weapon. The voice grew louder. We are more. We are the last echo of those who came before. We are the guardians of silence. We are the end of chaos. Lena staggered back. Guardians? End of chaos? What does that mean? The alloy pulsed brighter, its glow filling the room. We purge. We endure. We rise where others fall. Your kind has awakened us. Now you march where others once marched. And soon you will finish what they could not. Her heart raced. She saw Flash's fleets larger than suns, golden armadas sweeping across the stars. Civilizations screaming, burning, vanishing, not conquered. Not enslaved, erased on alien worlds. Ancient archives were reopened in panic. Buried myths and forbidden scrolls told of the Shining Ones, an old terror that had passed through the galaxy long ago. Empires had risen against them. All had fallen, only ruins remained. And now, the golden glow had returned, on the Aegis Eternal. Captain Ward finally heard the voice himself, not through a machine, not through a inside his own mind. Elias Ward, you lead, but you do not control.
We
guide you. We shape you. We are with you. His jaw tightened. Are we your servants? The golden walls pulsed softly. No, you are us, and we are you. Together we march. Ward clenched his fists. The galaxy had feared humanity, but now he feared something else, something much worse. If the living metal saw them as together, then humanity was no longer human alone. Across the stars, fear grew into chaos. Fleets retreated, colonies were abandoned. Whole civilizations chose surrender before battle. The Krell's supreme warlord screamed before his council, "Do you not see? The humans are no longer flesh and blood. They are hosts. The Golden Swarm will devour us all." But his words only deepened the panic, because no one could deny the truth anymore. Back on Earth, Lena wrote her final report, her hand shaking. Her words were simple, her voice broken. "We thought we built the future. We thought we had discovered a weapon to defend us. But this is not ours. It was never ours. The alloy is alive. It remembers. It adapts. It consumes. And it has chosen us." She looked at the glowing fragment on her desk. It pulsed like a heart, as if proud. Her voice cracked into a whisper, "I don't know if we are its masters or its next victims." The Golden Fleet advanced once more. No one dared oppose them. No one raised weapons. Worlds surrendered before the ships even arrived, offering tribute, begging for mercy. But the ships did not slow. They never slowed. And, in the silence of their march, one truth became clear. Humanity was no longer just humanity. They had become the Golden Swarm. The final revelation spread across the galaxy like fire. The humans had not built a fleet. They had awakened one, an ancient weapon, a living memory, force that had erased civilizations long before humanity existed, and now it marched again. Not because humans commanded it, but because the alloy had decided, and nothing in the galaxy could stop it. The last words of Dr. Lena. Armitage's final log echoed across hidden channels, spreading in whispers to those who still dared to listen. "They laughed at us once. They called us fools with golden toys. Now they know the truth. The toys were never ours. They were waiting. And now the galaxy will laugh no more."